I've realized years ago that that's sort of what I do is I design this sound world for people to live in. It started with the National and has evolved to many different projects, but I think it's something I think a lot about, like if a song idea is strong at its core, the initial sort of kernel of it can handle a lot, you know, if it's a strong foundation. And I think you hear that hopefully with Big Red Machine, because sometimes, you know, we let the songs go on and take different turns, and some of them are quite long, but I think because the core idea was strong, it's sort of they stand up. So I guess it's my role. I'm the engineer. The pandemic was the first time for me in maybe 20 years that I've been home without going on tour for more than a year. And so I didn't realize maybe what I was capable of creatively if I stay in one place and just live a life that's simpler, I guess, and not moving around so much. And then I have a studio right outside I built like my dream studio, and all my instruments are in there. And it's kind of like, as soon as the pandemic hit, I just had this creative renaissance, like personal, it was crazy how much I needed to write and record things because I hadn't had the time, because the National's been on tour so much over the last 20 years, which has been amazing. But I think I learned a lot in this period. So, you know, Taylor Swift and I made 2 records, and I finished a record with Ben Howard, and finished the Big Red Machine record, and, you know, like all in less than a year kind of. And that's pretty crazy to realize, like, oh, maybe I should stay home more, you know. Yeah, I feel like it's like not the hat that I was born to wear or something, but it's whenever I play music, I do sing kind of under my breath, or like, I think it's my way. I always hear a melody and I always kind of feel that when I'm writing music. I think that's why singers like writing to stuff I compose, because it's like the melody it's leading you maybe, and that's because I'm trying to sing as I write also. But these songs that are on this record, they're all really feel very important to me, and it's a strange realization that I like my voice, you know, because I think for a long time I felt like I didn't have a voice or something, but I just hadn't actually been singing or recording. I'd never recorded myself really, other than singing backup on songs, because I often do sing, you know, live with the National. And it may be that so many years of singing on stage in the National strengthened my voice, or helped me define it maybe. I mean, I think it's a good question. I think certainly so much has changed. There's much more recognition of how common it is for human beings to have mental health issues, and that it's not a question of like, are you normal, or are you abnormal, or do you know, like, I think people, there's a recognition now that it's a gray spectrum, and that we're all somewhere, you know, between health and not being well is like a very thin line. And I feel like there's much more attention on the issue, and I think a lot of people have, you know, have benefited from therapy and from just, you know, more of an open dialogue about mental health. But I also think there's still a lot of stigma attached, and there's still, you know, depending on what country you're in, you know, like in the United States, I feel like it is fairly ahead maybe than some other places. I have family in Denmark, for example, where I feel like it can be different there in terms of like maybe it's not as far along in terms of recognizing patterns or depression and dealing with it. But I could be wrong about that. But I do feel like it's something that I as a father, I kind of like think about a lot. I want to recognize when my children are not feeling well or feeling like scared or anxious or down or dealing with rejection or dealing with, too much pressure or dealing with, uncertainty in their life. And then I also think having, as someone who's lost friends to depression and suicide, I think of it like any other, health problem. It's like, I have a very close friend who calls it flu of the mind. And it's kind of like some people, just biological factors. Some people are more susceptible to these issues, like suffering from melancholy or depression. But it's important. It's very important to like treat it like any, it's like if you break your leg, you go to the hospital. It's the same. I think it's like as important if you're like not feeling well or having dark thoughts, you need to tell someone and I mean, I think that one of the ways that it makes sense or that this music is as cohesive as it is that I'm coming from an emotional place when I write music and make music, and so pretty much everything I ever write musically or record has an emotional feeling in it before anyone ever sings or writes to it. And so that I think in this case that really binds it all together. And you might have strange sonic textures and the record goes to many different places and there's some wild elements and things, but ultimately there's still this emotional feeling at the heart of it, and I think that kind of binds it together. Yeah, I mean, I think this Justin, he likes to say he's my wingman, and with Big Red Machine, where he kind of thinks of it as that I lead it, but he's this partner where I bounce everything off of him, and he contributes so much, oftentimes with his voice and also with production and playing. But I think that we've pushed each other over many years that we've known each other. I met him when the first Bon Iver record came out. We've pretty much been friends and close collaborators ever since. And so he's watched me go through ups and downs, and I've watched him go through ups and downs, and our friendship has grown quite strong. But we give each other a lot of space. It's not like I see him or talk to him every day, but there is a kind of dialogue about, I mean, a lot of it's personal, but I think musically we both learn from each other. And I think that a lot of the sort of confidence that maybe I now have as a producer or musician kind of comes to some extent of experiences I've had with him, where we were, like some of the early Big Red Machine songs on the first album, where I was experimenting with drum machines and more experimental sounds and creating songs out of structured improvisation and just like being more open to and spontaneous about creation. That's really coming from him. He's my sounding board and my wingman, and also he's the heart of a lot of these songs emotionally, because his voice is like it's what gives it substance, I guess. I feel like I'm sure I have an ego, but I feel like I definitely, everyone has an ego, but I tend to be very comfortable. I've learned to really embrace people's ideas and try to, even when it doesn't make sense to me at first, I try to find what they were hearing, but in Justin's case, I think one of the things that he's done for me is he's pushed me to trust my instincts, and also to sing. He really pushed me to learn how to use my voice and sort of wire my brain like that, because I just hadn't been doing it. I did it more when I was much younger, but I think this record was partly that. Also, we were like he was pushing me to finish songs that I had started that I would normally maybe hand off to someone else, but he was saying keep going, and that was really, that was very encouraging. But I think the other thing about Justin that is really special is he, no matter like anything that I send him, he will always give feedback. And I think because he understands the vulnerability that it takes. Like if you share something with someone, big idea or small idea, you're sort of like, it's vulnerable moment. And I think it's important to give people feedback. And I try, even I get a lot of communication coming my way, and so I feel sometimes it haunts me that if I didn't like respond in a constructive way to someone's idea, because like that to me it's very important. So I think that's one of like something that's special about our friendship is like there is this exchange of feedback all the time. To me, the thing that was most striking when I began working with her and when I got to know her personally and spend a lot of time with her is maybe not to do with the songwriting. It's more like how she is as a person. Like she's genuinely, she has a way of making everyone around her feel confident and good and appreciated. And I think that goes a long way to her work because she's just nice to be around. She's like, it makes you, I always feel appreciated in kind of all the work we've done, which is now quite a lot. She's, even if she disagrees or has like a criticism of something, she's like, the way that she approaches it is very graceful, and kind of just, she has the deep sense of gratitude for everything, that all of her success and all of her, just the fact that she gets to write songs, and that she's remarkably grounded in that sense, and that gives you, I feel like the thing it gave me was realizing that someone who's one of the most successful musicians in the world still feels grateful and grounded. It made me feel like hopeful. Renegade was a song that I think Taylor and I wrote in the months after Evermore came out, because we didn't really want to stop writing, and I think Taylor was very inspired by Big Red Machine, and she'd heard a lot of the other songs, and I felt like we were collaborating so much with Justin and with each other, and it just happened. I wrote the music and sent it to her, and he wrote this incredible song to it that really shines a light on how anxiety gets in the way of love, and how sometimes fear and anxiety kind of like inhibit you from being able to care for someone or be cared for. And I think she felt like this was a Big Red Machine song, and yes, it's just really special that it's on the record. That was the idea. It was like, can you create a project that is sort of an open, collaborative, project that really can be a vehicle for collaboration and for friendship and to grow with each other and try things and experiment. And that's what it's been. So it's almost like a laboratory or something where we get together and like see what happens. You're just like experiments and that become great songs, but I think at the core of it is like a spontaneity and a like, what does it feel like when you first start playing music? You feel like you like that joy and wonder when you're a kid. That's kind of what I'm trying to preserve with it. It's just like I don't really get stressed by it. It just feels like kind of every time we finish one of these Big Red Machine songs, it's like a weird gift that's like has nothing to do with my day job or something. I think with this new Big Red Machine album, the feel like what we set out to do with Big Red Machine originally, to create this collaborative project that has a community of voices, so it's multiple voices, not just one. I feel like we really accomplished it, and there's some of my favorite singers and songwriters have collaborated with me on this album, but it all ties together emotionally, I think, because of the music and some of the themes. So I guess that would be what I'm most proud of, is just the multitude of voices, and there's 29 musicians on the record, but it all feels like, I don't know, very natural to me. So I also think that the sound world of it's both improvised and has this kind of structured improvisation in it, but also a focused compositional side as well. So it feels like both sides of my brain somehow ended up in this record. So I'm really proud of it.